All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. This is a little bit of a touch and go live stream right now. I have white noise in my earbuds at the moment because the baby is in the background, and I like to maintain stream of consciousness. So I'm gonna do my best here, and you'll probably hear some background noise. Let's make sure that we're actually live, number one, and number two, that all of my tabs are open. On the tab side, I think everything's fine. Reloading the tab. No, we're not live yet on Rumble. I don't even see live chat working. So again, touch and go live stream at the moment. Oh God, now it's trying to play audio. Ugh, hate it. Yes, we are live. LFG Clank says index 373. Yes, apparently I am live. Many people clanking in the chat already. We'll be talking about various news stories today. We got to talk about Geraldo Rivera being a total friggin' idiot. Of course, Steven Crowder. We covered that this morning. Steven Crowder talking about the neocon Inc. sorts, people who are pretending to be leaders of one sort or another, but they're actually grifting. They are actually posers. I know of a few myself. I'm reluctant to share their actual identities, although I am willing to vouch for certain people because, I know that they're not. And yeah, we'll talk about all sorts of things. Captain Cannabis, morning sticks, clanking my bong this morning. Yeah, you're allowed to say that on YouTube, but you're not allowed to talk about other elements of medicinal science. It's very interesting. I'm surprised at this point that like folk medicine references haven't been banned on the platform. They clearly hate me and people like me because they're algorithmically demoting us again on level red. I'm surprised they haven't said, well, if you publish a 1700s era booklet on, botanical medicine or something, you're encouraging people towards harmful, dangerous activities. Very, very strange about that. By the way, to Red Chris 97, I'll call out Fox News myself. I think that he was indeed talking about the Daily Wire, although there are other groups that fall under that general umbrella. The idea that Daily Wire is a leader organization among people that are actually conservative is wrong. It's Neocon Inc. It's it's like a Ted Cruz basically. It's a Ted Cruz of the right-wing media. I've been labeled, what was it? The goth Sean Hannity by the Fuentes people. I thought that one was pretty funny. Wish I had that kind of income. You could retire after a year or two and still live in a mansion. Kevin Rupert, are you winning, Sticks? Absolutely. Big time. Bigly. If we look over on Rumble at the massively rising engagement over time, you can see it for yourself. There will be much more to come this year, by the way. Yeah, goth Sean Hannity, give me a Carl Tuckerson. Steady Eddie, 1983, San Francisco. You have to be black for at least 10 years to receive 5 million Rachel Dolezal and Sean King. Alexandra Ostrowska, do you think Stefan Molyneux is coming back to Twitter? I think he has already confided that he doesn't intend to do that without an apology. I think he should get back on the platform now that it's not perfect, but it's better than it was before. Sebastian Monroe, I have an idea for a series or a tie-in with an existing series, but I'm at work and can't elaborate much. I'll DM you on Twitter about it later. Sounds cool. Nick Severance, hey Sticks, just wanted to say Amy is the best. I don't know who Amy is, but I'm sure she appreciates it. Or he. These days, I won't assume someone's gender. Sigilstone 17, General Umbrella 07. Yeah, Kitty, you can be a co-host, but you can't, just to be clear, you can't be the screen. Anyway, we'll start off with these news stories. Geraldo Rivera, this is on Twitter, of course, where he likes to bloviate about things he clearly knows nothing about. He's in cope mode. He is doing damage control at this particular time. With regards to his rant the other day on guns, specifically the AR-15, he claimed that AR-15 meant assault rifle 15. Now, Geraldo, you're not a far left individual. You're not exactly the Young Turks or something like that. You should know better. You probably do know better. I don't know what the fuck he's getting at this point. Heard the Daily Caller and fellow travelers, independent individuals, including some liberals, by the way, Geraldo, are ranting about my incorrect definition on air of AR, as in AR-15. Whatever. Point is, there is no place other than sporting clubs and similar skilled settings for assault rifles. They're substitute appendages. So first you have the penis reference. Like you have a rifle. It happens to be semi-auto. Geraldo and other morons are afraid of them, and so it's a PP extender. You think about dicks too much, Geraldo. Maybe you should reconsider this. That's number one. Number two, you were wrong. Why not just come out and say, oh, yeah, I was in error. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about because I happen not to know what I'm talking about. It would have gone over better. You're getting ratioed here for a reason. You're making a secondary embarrassment of yourself here. And I would like to point out something else. I don't see anyone else pointing this out. How can you have AR-15s or some similar topical sporting rifle in sporting clubs and skilled settings without those weapons being fundamentally available to people for other purposes? Well, you can't. How are you going to train on it? Are you going to keep it all in one central location so that it can be broken into and robbed like in Chicago or Detroit or something like that? Good luck getting rid of the weapons, asshole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. At this point, I think that mostly he just does this for attention. He knows that he'll be trending because he's a goddamn ignorant moron. He's done this before, like when he was in Iraq and he was drawing locations of troops like a little map in the sand. He got kicked out at the time because he was actually putting U.S. troops in danger. Princess, I thought Crowder worked for the Blaze. Yes, he did previously. I have noticed Ben plugs way more. I've stopped watching him. He doesn't even report the good stuff anymore. Yeah, Ben Shapiro is a sellout, absolutely. But he has a lot of money. He is rhetorically talented. He's a very smart person. He's just decided he wants to use his intelligence for evil instead of good. Stephen Nizek, I don't mean to be rude, but why does Stefan Molyneux expect Musk to apologize to him? Because I highly doubt Agrawal would apologize. I think that's what he was holding out for. That ban was years ago. He was holding out for them to apologize prior. We'll see what happens with regards to Elon Musk's Twitter. I think he should get back on the platform. The same as I think the same about Trump. You know, you've got something to add to the conversation. The person running the site is no longer anywhere near the same as the people that ran it before. I would say just get back on Twitter. Maxwell Schules. Have you ever watched John Doyle's video about MLK? Regardless of what you think about the civil rights movement, he was an undeniably reprehensible man with communist connections. He most likely would support BLM today. Yeah, BLM is Marxist, in part. They openly credit Marxism with part of their ideology. At least the original founders. The second wave of people literally are just using it as a piggy bank. But no, I haven't watched that particular video. I'll have to take a look. By the way, I did watch Razor Fist's Abe Lincoln rant the other night. I managed to get through that. Pretty good. Pretty good shit. The Patriot Chiro, the license plate on Biden's Car-a-Lago was Big Guy 10. Stephen Nizek, my apologies. Didn't hear the full Molyneux segment. Michael Greco, what happened with the Second Vermont Republic movement with Thomas Naylor? I know he died, but did the movement or whatever it was go with him? There's really no active movement to secede within the state of Vermont. It's run lock, stock, and barreled by progressives anyway. They have a supermajority, and it's actually bigger now. Nick Severin, Sticks, my girl Amy can't access live chat. Do you know of or heard such a thing? It shows up, but I can't select it. Anyway, clank on, brother. I've never heard of that before. You'd have to contact Google probably. You might do @TeamYouTube on Twitter. That seems to be it's ironic. The easiest way to contact YouTube support is on a competing site. Princess, wishing I'd not left San Francisco 5 more years and I could transition to a black person and get my 5 million. Badly depreciated 5 million, maybe, under their auspices. Hunter Wadley, Republicans at this point shouldn't do anything to remove Joe from office. Let the lemmings vote and win him the primaries, then bash him in 24 when he's the nominee. Yes, but where's the guarantee that he actually runs? It's better to impeach him preemptively. He's done impeachable things. You risk alienating a large segment of the Republican populace by not doing so. Next, we've got Crowder's thing. And of course, I've got a link in the description. You can follow along with all of these links. Most of them are archived. This one's not. Crowder was talking specifically about neocon Inc. sorts. People within, the conservative media specifically is what he's pointing out, that are being disingenuous, grifting and or literal controlled opposition. I have inside knowledge of a few individuals that fall under that umbrella. As I pointed out earlier, I'm not going to start e-drama by naming names, but it is a thing. He is fixated more on, I think, the organizational side of the right wing. So like the Daily Wire sorts, maybe he's even referencing the Blaze here. It's entirely possible. He is correct, though. There are people of all political stripes. There are self-professed goddamn libertarians that are on the dole. That's because, imagine you're big tech. You don't really want to deal with the potential of a 230 recension or reformation in the future where you have to be a platform, because then you can't censor anyone. So you have to set up the stage to be a publisher. So what do? You astroturf a few reliable people who appear to speak for a consensus within every political movement, every religious movement, every possible social movement, every clique, etc. It's a few tens of thousands of people is what you need in order to have your continuing on-demand service. You force everyone else aside, you algorithmically demote or ban them, while giving money to those individuals, because nothing is more reliable than a person who can be bought with hard cash. That's what they're doing. And he's referencing that basic premise. Muddy Drip 6665. Thoughts on Sam Harris's latest fumble on the vaccine hesitant? I haven't seen that. Sam Harris seems to have a fumble on a regular basis these days. Not a big surprise. I mean, he's fucking Sam Harris. So we will talk about the reparations now. Going past, because I already covered it this morning, the Crowder clip. San Francisco should pay trillions in reparations to black people. Panel decides. This is CNS. San Francisco's Reparations Committee has proposed that San Francisco pay $5 million each to virtually all black San Francisco residents over the age of 18, and also pay reparations to black people all over the country with drug convictions. Of course, San Francisco's population being overextended as it is right now can't foot the bill for this. That would cost the city trillions of dollars, bankrupting it. Yet the plan was praised by the president of the city's board of supervisors. This is number one, why you have shit in San Francisco. You have poop everywhere, a homeless problem. You're looking at, like, I make a decent salary. If I was in San Francisco, it'd be roommate mode for anything that would even approach a semblance of comfort. Otherwise, it's literal pod living. Like, you can probably get a pod there for $4K a month. That's about the sum and substance of it. So you have a bed, and you have a communal toilet, and you have a roof over your head at least. You know, it's heated, although they probably keep it at a low temperature for climate change. That's basically what San Francisco is. They have grown so decadent as an urban metropolitan area that instead of attempting to address any real issues that people actually there have, they're doing this. And that's because they want to get reelected. This is basically a throwaway. White voters will realize it's not going to happen, so the white liberals won't have a problem with it. Voters of color, which is a very interesting term, will support it. And so they'll vote for them because there's no alternative being offered by the very, very small other side, which is people there with some degree of fiscal realism. That's basically what's happening here. Such reparations would be an unconstitutional racial preference. No shit. This article goes on through it again. This is from CNS, so it's more of a right-leaning news outlet. No shit. I would like to do a tie-in here, though, which is that the Biden administration has promoted similar things with regards to both restaurants and farms before. They tried to make elements of that aid, within his first big handout bill. They tried to make that race-based. Both were injuncted by the federal court system. And I don't even think that they bothered to appeal it because the writing's on the wall. The idea was it was a throwaway. It's to get votes. It's to get power. It's not really to accomplish any form of change or anything like that. This, in the end, is the same thing. This is, I'm on a far-left city council over a city full of far-leftoids, and I want them to vote for me. So I make something that can't actually happen. It's impossible. However, it sounds good. On paper, it sounds good. Some people are taken in. Those that aren't, the partisans that lean towards my side anyway, will praise me for trying. And then they will talk about how evil the right wing is for blocking the concept of reparations for people that were universally never actually enslaved. Mopey Hornet, heard about creators doing contracts with Rumble like Tim Pool and Ricada. Would look into Avenue in future. I wouldn't sign a contract with any specific site, although I have been offered them before. However, if a site wants to reward me for doing work for them, that's fine. But I'm not signing any paperwork. That's the sum and substance of my opinion. If you want an informal arrangement where you're like, hey, I can come to an arrangement. You're making a video a week, only on our platform. I would consider that. But I'm not going to put it in writing and lock myself into a 5-year contract where I have to muzzle myself or something like that. I don't believe that Pool or Ricada have muzzled themselves. They appear to have full latitude to speak. I see no problem with it, and I wouldn't consider them to be sellouts. E100 Omega 123. I don't care about Car-a-Lago. I want politicians like Schiff to be investigated and fired for suppressing free speech. Agreed. That nothing will happen to him is super depressing. While he might lose his job, he might be crazy enough to abandon his House position for an attempt at a Senate slot. Miss Mountain Cat. Cat treats. Yes, indeed. There are several. Well, there's one right here, actually, come to think of it. Yeah, you can watch the kitty have a treat here. Try to get it in the camera shot here. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there she goes, burrowing right into it. Her sister's staring at me. Although Yana, while she will eat them, she always pokes at them for an extended period of time, and she will not eat them unless they are up above. She won't eat on the floor. Very straight. She won't do that with her mushy food either. She has to be fed on the table like a human. Glow in the dark. Sam Harris. If the facts around the coof were different, I would have been right, but they weren't, so that is bad. Yeah, that dude's weird. Stephen Nizick. As a California expat who moved to greener pastures, I approve of reparations bankrupting San Francisco. Oh, they're pretty much bankrupt anyway, so. Oh, also, Sigilstone 17 on Rumble. Tell me San Francisco is run by economically illiterate commies without saying it. True. Ozzy's Robots got bored and bought another building. Would love to house the BitChute offices there. Perhaps Ray is ready to sell. The UK will ultimately squash him. I don't think that they'll be capable of doing so since the financial infrastructure is already moving to the States. They've tried for several years. They haven't managed so far. Gone Fishing. Please check this video out. Channel is called A Truth Seeker. Video is called Burnt Alive in Odessa, which documents over 42 innocent people burned alive, mostly innocent civilians. Next news story. This one's, it's like a no-brainer, but it's interesting anyway. Prostitutes gather in Davos for annual meeting of global elite, where demand for sexual services rockets during economic summit. Now, when they first said that the prostitutes were gathering there, I didn't know whether they meant the globalists like Klaus Schwab or the call girls, call boys, and call children that they import illegally in order to screw people more than they already do with their stupid policies. Prostitutes report a surge in business during the annual gathering of leaders. I wonder why. Escorts are booked into delegates' hotels alongside business executives. Can we get footage of these people and try to note which rooms they're going to and who was staying in them so that we know who's, in technicality at least, breaking the law? What kind of prostitutes does Klaus Schwab like, you think? Probably they have to be fetishistic. They have to dress up as an ant or a cockroach or something, some of that weird porn stuff. Sex workers dress in business attire and rub shoulders with the global elite. Yes, these are not streetwalkers, to be clear. These are the $1,000 an hour people minimum. But there's a lot of coke there, a lot of booze there, and a lot of horny old men, especially, and horny old women in some cases, that are looking to get spicy. Not a surprise. I would think that the Swiss authorities that are willing to clear up, goddamn, how many cops do they have there, and how much does it cost to actually have them during the meeting? Why don't they take an equal amount of funds to try to look into who the Johns are here and fucking prosecute them? Oh, that's right. These people are beyond the reach of the law because they happen to be multi-billionaires most of the time. Or they know a multi-billionaire. You're not there unless you're extravagantly wealthy, or you know someone extravagantly wealthy, or people were dumb enough to vote for you, basically. Yeah, James McDougall, hookers are a business write-off. Haha, I wouldn't be the least bit goddamn surprised. It wouldn't even surprise me. Not even joking. Sigilstone 17, the global elite having STDs rot their brains explains so much. Yeah, I'm sure that they have a mandatory instantaneous STD test for most things there. Although if they all got HIV, would the world really be worse off? No, not really. They can afford their AZT treatments, I suppose. Imagine Bill Gates and what he gets up to. Yeah, there's a reason why his wife left him, just to be clear. Next news story. India is set to become the world's most populous country. Can it create enough jobs? I've got a suggestion, a mild one here, that would shake up the world order, especially with regards to BRICS and Asia. Here's my idea. Right now, the Chinese economy, which is teetering, their population has begun to fall, and they're saying, well, we'll incentivize people to have more kids. That's the good part. The problem is it'll take a long time for that to catch up to the economic reality there. China is now on the brink and may collapse in the next 10 years because of their population issues, partially. India, meanwhile, continues to grow. Now, this causes its own problems, one of being, link in the description, unemployment rate, which is quite high. Labor force participation there is not particularly beefy. That's a problem. And of course, when you've got a country where you don't have a fully developed economy, you don't have a lot of the ability to give welfare to people, you end up with a lot of people falling through the cracks. There's a huge amount of poverty in certain parts of India. That being said, I think that we can work together on this. People in the United States and part of Canada, Australia, Western Europe. Why don't we work with India and strike a grand bargain? Divest everything that's in China right now and move it to India. We could absorb 100 million fucking jobs, probably. Wouldn't be that difficult. We could absorb half their unemployment rate while screwing China in the ass and collapsing their economy. We could do it seamlessly. Yeah, you lose some buildings. Well, we'll make the notes good. Subsidize the goddamn buildings, leave their shells behind for the Chinese to demolish, and move all those workers to India. I think that would be a great idea. By the way, pulling them out of BRICS probably in the process. And by the way, absorbing another nuclear power. Why not? It makes sense. India is the rising power. I just said 6-7 years ago, I said it was India that was going to rule the first half of this fucking century in Asia. It wasn't going to be China. China was making too many mistakes. Demographic mistakes, investment mistakes, high reliance on exports. India has its own more insular economy already and all sorts of niches and things like that. It's capable of going the distance. Help absorb their unemployment. Indian workers, okay, you pay 1% more money for an Indian factory force instead of a Chinese factory force while giving them much better living conditions. You absorb the unemployment. You've strengthened the Indian economy. You've exerted diplomatic and economic influence over India. India is a rising economy. China is now faltering. People that were betting on China this half of the century, I hate to tell you that I told you so, but I really fucking did. It all has to do with demographics and investment. People swore to me that China was going to supplant the United States. If anything, India has a better chance of doing that in the next 20 or 30 years. Still don't think it'll happen, but we would have a much more stable, much less authoritarian country that was much better to do business with, much more stable, much less of a problem long-term diplomatically. Switch to India. If I was a multi-million-dollar investor, I wouldn't be building a goddamn factory in Beijing. I'd be building it in Chennai. Let's see. We have some more chats. Gun fishing. What is your opinion on why FBI Director Wray, Sinema, Brian Kemp, Senator Coons, and Manchin would have any business there? Oh, you mean in Davos? Well, I mean, they do invite people to speak that don't agree with them. They had Trump at Davos years ago. He used his bully pulpit to ramble about how evil globalism was. Manchin, they might regret inviting him. Mainly, they try to invite people that they're trying to influence. Manchin and Sinema have disproportionate strength within the Dem Party. The FBI director is obvious why they would want him there. They try to exert influence. They usually, but do not always, succeed. Tulsi Gabbard was one of their WEF youth leaders that they listed. So is Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw comports to the globalist scheme. To be clear, he's a sellout. He should be kicked out of office. Tulsi Gabbard has, it appears, mostly redeemed herself. Now, based on what I've seen from her, she's done a 180 on guns, which is good. She appears to be walking the walk. We'll give her a chance. Hunter Wadley. I was drinking during your ants and bugs remark. Not appreciated, Sticks. Now I have to break out the brownies. Virgil Walker, Sticks, if you had to live in a medieval European country, where and why? Medieval Europe. That's a good one. There's not really any good choices to make. I guess as far out in the hinterlands as possible, since you're going to be farming potatoes and shit anyway, to get as far away from authority as possible. I guess I'd be a brigand or a highwayman or something like that. 87 Sparky, clank, clank. Robot Trucker, can you release a hardcover of Demonology? I will be doing hardcovers of the compilations in the future, but it's much more intensive process because the formatting of the actual works is bullshit. Amazon does a good thing when it comes to soft cover. Paperbacks. It doesn't do a good job when it comes to supplying you workable files for your hardcovers. I had to go through goddamn hell just to get one done, and it screwed up the algorithm on one of my main works. I had to take it back down. Sigilstone 17. China collapse? I'm excited to witness the next decisive Tang victory firsthand instead of reading about it centuries later. Yes, China is on its last leg. But, it takes a while for a giant to fall. Fair dispute. Sticks, would you only move your multi-billion-dollar business from China to India for a good deal on their spices? Well, yeah, I do like curry and things like that. But India is less authoritarian. It's actually growing as opposed to China, which is teetering on the brink of shrinking, actually, at the moment. It is a diplomatically speaking more neutral, and so it has a better position. If I'm an investor, a neutral nation makes sense. Ozzy's Robots trying to rationalize why education has disintegrated badly in the US, but when you realize they can pull the brightest from India, China, etc., it's clear they don't care and use it to push agendas instead. Also true. Sparky, India won't trust the West. They don't believe the MSM. By the way, Kemp and Ray are hardcore globalists. I know, I'm just one step removed from them. Yeah, Kemp and Ray are globalists, absolutely. However, India does have good diplomatic relations with the United States and the Western world. It's just it's a gem waiting to be cut, so to speak. Another Kohinoor. Next news story. We've got some shenanigans here. The week everything changed for the Biden White House. Oh boy, another CNN politics bit with a pre-written title. This is exactly what I expected would happen with regards to the Biden Mar-a-Lago thing. Biden fucked up. And it may be a setup, to be clear. He's got classified documents that he couldn't have declassified because he wasn't in office or VP at the time. They're not secured. You don't have a visitor's log. You don't have security. He fucked up badly. They are absolutely trying to use this to convince him to step down and or not run in 24. Now, I have no problem with that. I don't like Biden myself. If he doesn't run, bye-bye, bitch. That's perfectly fine. You can get another globalistic neoliberal to run. While it would be funny to see a then 83-year-old Joe Biden staggering around on the stage forgetting where he fucking is during a presidential debate, assuming that the debates would even fucking goddamn happen, by the way, everyone. While that would be really, really funny, they're trying to set this up in order to try to prevent him to get a stronger candidate while attacking Trump with it. This particular title here evinces that point miraculously. What you've seen from the legacy media for 2 fucking goddamn years was nothing but cope and butt covering for the Biden administration. Well, now that Biden didn't do anything wrong, they wouldn't talk about something that he did or said that was bullshit. They would talk about it and they would gloss it over. They would look for the silver lining in every dark cloud that he brought forth on the country. They've been covering for his ass for 2 years. Second, the midterms are over. All of a sudden, there happens to be a major scandal, mysteriously similar to the apples and oranges similar quasi-scandal with the Mar-a-Lago raid. Of course, again, those documents at the very least were declassified and secure, unlike those at the Mar-a-Lago. It just happens to come along right after midterms with a story ostensibly quashed until the midterms were over. Yeah, there was no interior decision-making with regards to that to influence the midterms, by the way. It was coincidental, the timing that the attorneys released the material and talked to the press. It just happens to occur and just happens to lend itself to saying, well, Trump did worse. That's what they're going for. They've been going for this since this scandal began. It is a scandal. It is apples to oranges to the Mar-a-Lago paperwork and stuff. Yeah, because the Biden paperwork is far worse. It was never secured. It couldn't have been declassified. Of course it's worse, but they're not going to tell the public that. You watch and wait and see. Deus Flex. Notice how California will virtue signal about the reparations, but will never touch the wallets of billionaires like Ben Affleck, who are descendants of slave owners. NIMBYism at its finest. Exactly. Sort of like Greta Thunberg ignoring Davos, where a bunch of a bunch of multi-billionaires with private jets and islands and ship go and pollute and cavort with prostitutes. You don't see her protesting there. No, you see her in small-town Germany, where they want to open up a coal mine. Stephen Nizek, is someone who will vote for Trump in the 2024 general election. If Biden had charged Hunter $69,420 per month in rent, I would have rewarded him with a primary vote, if only for the kecks. Sparky, India's firmly in Russia's corner. Don't let legacy media fool you. False. Their membership in BRICS really is partially a facade. They've been trying to do the neutral country thing, where they will half-ass criticism of both sides and also applaud both of them. So Putin can go to Chennai or Hyderabad any day he wants. So could, Stuart Biden. I would note that Modi seemed to really get along with Trump, getting almost a godlike reception there in India, which was, I thought, fantastic. If he had been reelected, Hong Kong, of course, he totally wasn't. 81 million votes and all that shit. I think that India would already be pulling away from BRICS right now. Come, Goblin. I went skiing last night and listened to Obituary. It was a lot of fun. Obituary is pretty good. The critical race theory debate is turning parents into unlikely activists. New York Post story here. Yes, keep fighting against CRT because the fight is not by any means over. Of course, I wrote a booklet on the subject, Debunking Critical Race Theory, available on Amazon. Just fucking look it up. With or without my name, it should be there. Although with Amazon algorithms, you never know. It's easy to debunk critical race theory on its 5 main bases. One of them is just a self-admission of Marxist influence, which tends to rankle independents. They tend not to support communism. When you point that out, of course, the Marxists will say, no, it's not really communistic in any way. If it was, that would be a good thing, but no, absolutely, it's a liberal educational path. Critical race theory is essentially the racist notion that everything in the United States and from the United States is inevitably tainted with bigotry. It identifies various ways to address this, most of which are illegal or legally onerous, and it's a pile of fucking horseshit. The people who oppose it have taken the high ground since day one when this debate began almost 2 years ago. Critical race theory is not popular among any specific group within the United States, and you got to understand that a lot of the parents out there, they're Democrats, they're liberals, they're people of color, etc., they don't support it either. This is a winning issue that I hate to take umbrage with the Republican Party on something like this, because they were handed the issue on a golden platter. One of my main criticisms of the GOP, from without looking in because I'm not a Republican, has been their tendency to get handed a major victory and throw it aside and then fixate on something totally bullshit. This is exactly what they did with critical race theory. They were handed the upper hand on education as a major voting issue for the 2022 midterms, and they spent the months prior leading up to it not even talking about it. Well, yeah, I wonder why you had some problems. It wasn't all just Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. They really did screw the pooch and fumble on that particular issue. CRT is supposedly really, really great, and every school should use it, and it has nothing to do with communism, and everything's perfect about it. Why is it then that everyone who promotes the concept keeps disclaiming that CRT is even taught in schools? That's one of the main attacks against it. Again, there are 5 main venues of attack because there are 5 main points within CRT. I covered them all in my booklet. Others have spoken about the issue. I rushed that out because it was primo shit. It's easy to debunk. It's not hard. Yeah, we just celebrated Martin Luther King Day. I hate to tell you this, but CRT insinuates that Martin Luther King was a goddamn loser. Just to be clear, it throws the old civil rights leaders under the bus too. Try and tell the average liberal, the NPR stuffed shirt wearing white liberal with their middle or upper middle class home. You mention MLK and they'll shed a tear. They'll say, wow, he's one of the greatest Americans. Now tell them, hey, did you know that critical race theory stuff? Oh, you mean that stuff not being taught, but is virtuous anyway? Yeah, you do realize that it criticizes all of those people. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, etc. Insinuates that they're fucking losers because they didn't do enough. They were fighting for equality. instead of reparations. And so they don't matter. We don't need to talk about them too much. George Floyd is much more meaningful. Lizzie Longtoes on Rumble. Good morning from the U.S. Sticks. I am right over on YouTube. Did read that Hunter Biden paid $50,000 a month to rent to live in Joey's house where classified documents were found? Yes, he did. He was charged $50,000 of rent per month. But don't worry, everyone. I'm sure that he never went to the garage or to wherever the other papers were being stored. Ozzy's robots. Are women more susceptible to CRT, aka Marxism? Ultimately, I think with women with kids, probably less so, honestly. I don't have any polling on that, but I have a sneaking suspicion they'd be less receptive to critical race theory. Orwell's goon. I suspect one of Crowder's close colleagues is one of the group he's calling out, and he's pissed. Good, he's calling this out, though. Yeah, that would be a good guess. That would be a guess about what triggered that specific video clip to be cut. Ultramaga721 on Rumble. I was interested in politics until Trump exposed the slimy swamp full of evil, self-serving creatures. Just say no to career politicians, aka career criminals. And then we have our final news story here. We've got to talk about Greta Thunberg here and her bullshit. This is Krasenstein's, and I was just weighing in on it. Again, link in the description. You can peruse that at your leisure. Greta Thunberg got detained or arrested the other day. She was in Germany, where I was a few days ago, protesting the proposed opening of a new coal mine there. There's a village in Germany which lies upon a very rich seam of coal. And because the Germans stupidly decided to shut off a bunch of nuclear reactors, they now have to make up the difference with coal because they were expecting the gas would keep flowing from Russia, and now that's become a liability. Any reasonable person, Donald Trump, by the way, would tell them that was a bad idea. But of course, they decided to act stupidly under Merkel. Greta Thunberg shows up, and a bunch of other people, and supposedly gets detained. But if you look at additional footage of this, it looks damn a lot like she was acting. Like this is literally staged here. It does not appear that she certainly wasn't. I mean, she's not being booked and held in jail or anything like that. They wouldn't want to give her the attention. They know better. What it looks like is that she was posing mainly for a photo shoot. So she gets dragged off, not even cuffed, to the van. They talk to her for 10 minutes. Why are you here, etc. Blah, blah, blah. And then they let her go. She's, at this time, I don't even believe, still detained. So that was one hell of a self-serving photo op. And you can tell, link in the description again, look at this picture. She knows that that's what's going to happen. She knows the cameras are on her, which, some of them were literally from the people around her. And she's like, oh, God, yes, another 15 minutes of fame. I'll be trending on Twitter. I'll get more money. That's what she's in it for. I like the idea that she started out when she was under 18 and happens to be autistic. And so a lot of people that normally would criticize the self-serving stunts here, they don't dare to do so. Well, she's just a kid and she's got autism. I'll be called ableist or something. It's just a publicity stunt. This is to get attention. If you look at some of the past photo shoots of her from, long before this period, those are all staged as well to get attention. You've got her sitting in a $5,000 chair and shit with her obviously very rich parents. And she's decided, well, I can't get a normal career, or I don't want one. I want to be an influencer, but I'm not really well spoken enough to do the YouTube thing. And I'm not entertaining enough to do TikTok 15-second brown sugar shuffle videos. So I know what I'll do. I'll ramble about climate change all of the goddamn time without doing jack shit about it. I don't see her planting trees. I don't see her friends planting trees. They're certainly not picking up garbage alongside the Strand. No, they go and they get themselves detained briefly so they can take pictures. It's like the idea of Instagram activism. Greta Thunberg. Let's see. Got some more. Please don't send any more super chats. By the way, I'll try to plow through the remnant here. Deus Flex. Respectfully disagree. McConnell and McCarthy didn't fumble on education. They deliberately set it aside to keep the uniparty going. That may be true, but other Republicans dropped that issue as well, including some that got reelected. They didn't focus on it enough. It was the fourth largest issue in the midterms, and they punted on it. Sparky, Modi trusts Trump, not the U.S. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even trust Trump, to tell the truth. Nobody reasonable would trust the U.S. government, or by that manner, the Chinese, Indian, or any other government in the fucking world. That being said, it's all about what's mutually advantageous. A grand bargain between the US, Canada, Oceania, Western Europe, and India would make India fantastically wealthy. It would stabilize services and goods to those other countries, and it would fuck China at the same time. It would be a very worthwhile investment. Crazy Loon, Highwayman Stick, stand and deliver your spoons or your life. Michael Greco, when will there be a George Floyd Day or Hands Up Don't Shoot Day as a federal holiday? Well, they've already got a bunch of statues and shit like that. I think the family's grift continues. They don't really care about having a holiday. Truth Teller, feelings on spirituality. I'm spiritual. I have spiritual beliefs. I just don't follow an organized religion, and I don't try to force them on others and say that I'm better than them. Ozymandias sent €1. No comment. Thank you very much. Wolf on the Plains, morning from snowy Colorado. We had almost a foot of snow overnight. Save the planet, nuke Davos, free the world from tyranny. Peace out. That'd be cool. Hidden Archon over on Rumble. If we finally defeated the Uniparty, what does a non-establishment government look like? One that is at least marginally more inclined to represent the will and the wishes of the people. The current one under the neolibs and neocons is basically the opposite of that. Ultra Maga 721. Greta is a globalist prop and nothing more. Yeah, just wait until she gets older and she's no longer cute for the cameras. She'll be cast aside like they already did to David Hogg, and she'll be reduced to making tweets. Rel 21,000. Long live meritocracy and good content creators. Thank you. Yeah, so those were our news stories for the day. All sorts of crazy shit going on, as usual. It's funny, when things go bad, it makes my job easier, but then you feel sad about it. It's like, I wish I could have a slow news day, and like that's the reason why I don't live stream. End up having to just do a rant about cats or food or something like that. Yes, Night Motorcyclist. Meanwhile, a boy in slot actually did something about the plastics in the ocean at 16. Yes, a Dutch kid, actually, if I remember correctly, designed a sort of a trawler with a gigantic attachment behind it that could go through the sort of plastic soup that's in the ocean and gobble it up and process it. It's a good idea. I mean, you'd need probably 20 or 30 more of them to slowly clean the oceans. And I'm assuming you accidentally catch at the very least some plankton when you're doing this, but the basic concept is good. I would say what we need to do is go past recycle and go back to recycle, reuse, reduce. Buy less shit. Stop using plastic. Reuse what you can. Half the cups in our goddamn cupboard, or all they are is glass jars that have been, cleaned off. You take the label off and then you use them as a cup. It's simple. It doesn't go into a landfill. It doesn't go into the trash. It doesn't get thrown by the side of the road. What's the difference between it and a glass cup anyway? I think that it looks cool, bell jars and stuff like that. I think it's a great idea. But they're not going to tell you to buy less stuff because materialism is how these morons get their money. That's why it's no longer recycle, reuse, reduce. It's just, hey, fucking recycle. Don't plant trees because then you might get fruit for them or something, or own the wood. No, let us plant trees. Pay us and we'll do it for you. Don't own anything. Let us handle it because we've handled everything so well for the last few centuries. Anyway, I'm going to go offline here. It sounds like the baby is getting a little bit more chuffy up there, and I'm not sure how much longer I can continue to hold my thoughts together. Good live stream, however. Again, almost 2,000 people live at peak on Rumble. Not even quite 3,000 on YouTube. That disparity keeps getting more and more narrow. I don't know whether that's because of YouTube algorithmically demoting me, Rumble actually promoting the content, or a combination of both. And I think, thankfully, it's the third. Yeah, it'll get to the point where it's like, oh, streaming on YouTube? Good for you. Who gives a fucking goddamn shit hell? That's about all. Peace out.